Hey guys, it's Ted Bogert. Welcome back to the TED Show. I am super excited to have a dear friend, an old friend, on the show. I think for the first time, maybe. This is Carlos Pereira. He is with Fortis Pay Pro. My bad. You can see his website scrolling across the bottom there. We're going to talk about his journey, what Fortis Pay Pro even is, all the give back that he does in the community, and much more. Welcome, my friend. How you doing today?
Oh man, it's great to be here on the show with you, Ted. And like you said, it's good to see you again and reconnect, of course.
I love the reconnect part. You know, that's the great thing about social media. You kind of keep up with people. And Carlos and I have known each other for quite a while. I love what he does. I love the energy, and we're going to talk about that. But before we do, tell them a little bit about your background. You obviously didn't ask for a Fortis Pay Pro GI Joe when you were younger.
Correct.
So tell us a little bit about your journey.
Correct. Well, Ted, as when you and I had first met several years ago, I had told you I'd been in the payment processing business my whole entire life. When I was a child, when I was young growing up, I wanted to be a priest in the Catholic Church. I was a seminarian, and
Wow.
when I left the seminary, I really didn't know what I wanted to do. I had studied philosophy, I had studied theology, but I didn't know what I wanted to do. And I went to go work for a company in Miami called InstaCheck, which back in the day, that was back in 1995, more or less. And when people used to pay with checks in stores, there used to be the check verification process. So it was the check guarantee side. And I was their director of telemarketing and sales manager at a very young age. And I had a friend of mine that reached out that asked me if I could help one of his friends that had a small telemarketing room, and he was having issues with that telemarketing room. And I said, sure, I'll help him out. And he was in the credit card processing side, and kind of I was fascinated by it. He invites me to a Christmas party, and I met my former partner there, who tells me, he says, hey, listen, I have the opportunity where we're going to be the very first ISOs for Chase Manhattan Bank, back when they were called Chase Manhattan Bank.
People forget
Yeah,
that, don't they?
back in the day. And so he says, I'm looking for partners, and I understand that you've been with InstaCheck for a long time, and would you be interested? And so, like always, I took that leap of faith, always believing that God was guiding me in the direction he wanted to guide me. Luckily, I lived with my grandfather at the time, because that allowed me to go into business for myself. It was a little bit, scary,
We'll
but
talk about that because I've got two questions for you before you keep
Mhm.
going. First of all, when did you finally realize what was a lot of prayer? What was it that you decided, all right, that's not my calling? Because obviously you have a calling, and sometimes that is somebody's calling to be in seminary and not. Were you just like, all right, I think I'm supposed to be doing something else. God's leading me somewhere else.
You're talking about when I was in the seminary?
Yes. When
Uh,
you left, why leaving? Was it a difficult decision? Was
It
it
was a very difficult decision. It was a very different, and my wife Ariana, and my wife and I, we've been married for 20 years, and I've told my wife, I've even still had dreams here and there where I was a priest, and it was a hard decision for me. I just didn't feel that is exactly where God wanted me in
understood?
life, and
Understood.
so it
That's
was
cool
hard.
though.
I was part of a religious order called the Legionaries of Christ in Cheshire, Connecticut, and that's where I went last before I was with the Archdiocese of Miami. But when I left, the good thing is that I had great friendships in the church, and when I left and I was unsure, um, uh, Bishop Noonan, who is the bishop here of Orlando, was the rector of St. John Vianney Seminary in Miami, Florida. And I
Wow.
remember going to go see back then, and I told him, I said, Father, I want to finish my studies, and he allowed me to finish my studies there while not being a seminarian, which was important to me. So something that I'm very grateful to now, Bishop Noonan of
That's
Orlando.
awesome. That's
Yeah.
amazing. Okay, so I didn't mean to get off track, but I'm fascinated by that. And if I didn't ask that, the audience would have messaged me and said, "Why didn't you ask him?"
Sure.
So let's talk about the transition to owning your own business because
Sure.
that is a difficult thing. It's sometimes seems like it's glamorous because
Mhm.
you set your own schedule, you're
Mhm.
in charge, and somehow
Mhm.
that's freeing. But there's a lot of responsibility that comes with
Right.
that. So talk about that transition to owning.
Well, in the beginning, it was mostly me, and I've learned about that responsibility part that you talk about as I grew, and I'm not going to lie to you, Ted. I was young and I thought it was the brave thing to do. I was 27 years old, like I say, I thank God for my grandparents. At the time I lived with my grandfather. Had it not been for my grandparents, I would probably have never made it, because that first year in business, and I don't make any, I don't hide behind it. I used to tell people when they would come to my office, I made $6,000 my first year in business.
Yeah.
Most people can't live off of that. If it wasn't for my grandparents, I would have never been able to do that. And so, yeah, it's a little scary, but yes, it is liberating as well. But it's all about, loving an industry. And that's exactly what I do. I love the industry. I love everything about payment processing and what I can do for businesses.
And I think that there's a lot of, so let's talk about your business now. You've
Mhm.
obviously, this is this is your baby.
Mhm.
Talk about Fortis Pay Pro. Talk a little bit about what you do, because people don't realize that there is these companies, but in between, that work with the vendors. A lot of
Right.
times you go to a restaurant, you think, well, that's going directly, Visa's just in charge or Amex is just
Right.
in charge.
Right.
But there's
Right.
really there's a you in between. So talk a little bit about that, educate them.
Well, I can actually tell you a nice story. And by the way, I want everybody to know this is my second company. My first company, which was the larger one, was First Rate Merchant Services, which I sold my first year after moving to Orlando 11 years ago. And then Fortis Pay we've been doing this for 6 years. But but I'm glad that you brought that up. I had a friend of mine that referred me to a client here and owns a restaurant and wasn't having the best service. And he says, "Hey, can you help me?" And I said, "Absolutely. What seems to be the problem?" And he tells me, he goes, "Carlos, every time I call, I don't get answers. Nobody call. I can't get a call back. I can't get this. I can't get anybody to service." I said, "Well, sure, I can help you. Let's take a look at your statement." When I look at his statement, he was paying around $1,300 in fees, processing half the amount in volume, right? And I said, "Well, here's your problem. This bank," and I'm not going to name it for obvious reasons, but this bank is only making $65 a month off of you. He says, "What do you mean? I'm paying $1,300 a month in fees?" And I said, "Well, the card brands, Visa, MasterCard, American Express, and Discover are making the majority of that money. This entity is only making $65. So looking from the outside in, how much of that $65 do I have to save you for you to want to switch to me?" And he kind of looked back, and I said, "You see why they don't answer your call? They don't have to,
Yeah.
because you're not going anywhere. I preach service.
Yes.
When I got into this industry, I was mentored by amazing people. Stephen Haas, the chairman of the Greater Miami Convention and Visitors Bureau. Stuart Blumberg, the president of the Hotel Association in Miami, Florida. These are people that ingrained in me customer service, customer service, customer service. And so that's where I want to take this business and be different than my competitors out there. That whenever my customers call, we're going to not only pick up the phone and answer your call, we're not going to outsource it or keep you on hold for 30 minutes. And we're going to take care of that, because your job as a business is to run your business, not to handle your merchant services problems. That's my responsibility. And that's the type of service we like to give out to people.
I think that service is everything. And I think in this day and
Absolutely.
age, with the immediate gratification, not answering phone calls and calling people back, the difficulty, of course, is there's a lot of charlatans out there in all of our industries, the mortgage side, your side, there's just a ton. And so people are automatically distrustful of that. Sure, Carlos, I've heard that before. They say
Absolutely.
that to me. They're like, "Ted, sure, you pick up the phone on the weekends." We've heard that before. So talk a little bit about your business model and what you do with the clients. Cause I guarantee you I'm going to have a lot of questions. We're going to have a lot of questions about,
Right.
okay, what does he do? How does it work? So give us
Great.
enough of the skeletal so that we
Great.
can drive them to call you later.
Great. Awesome. So Fortis Pay Pro is a strategic partner office of Fortis Pay, which is a very large processor in the United States. Fortis Pay has over 35,000 merchants doing $3 billion a month in processing. We are a payment facilitator and ISO. What is the difference between me and 99% of our our competitors. FortisPay has invested a lot of money to become a PayFac, and by that, we own and control the process. And in layman's terms, if you go to anywhere else like us, if they have an independent sales office agreement, well, there's a processor that is making money through risk and underwriting. Because all of that is in-house for us, we are now able to save people a lot more money than what they're currently paying through any of the competition out there. But I make no qualms about it. I don't want to be the cheapest guy in town. And I always challenge people. When has the cheapest ever been the best?
I know.
If you can tell me, I'm interested in hearing it. The cheapest is never the best. And if you listen or go online and research some of my competitors, you will see that their Google reviews are not the best. When it comes to FortisPay as a company, all of our partners that are involved in FortisPay and all of our investors, customer service and our reviews are of utmost importance to us.
Sure.
We don't want to be the cheapest. We want to be the one that everybody loves. Correct. And so it's a little bit, I tell people, I'm not the most expensive. We're not the cheapest. We're not even in the middle. We're very competitive. But I can assure you, whenever you pick up the phone, we're going to call, I like to call it white glove service. That's how I treat my customers, with white glove service.
And I think that's what I would want as a consumer. That's for any business, but certainly when you're talking about my charges, which if I have a merchant services account, obviously credit cards are important to me in my business. Right. So I would want somebody I can reach. And I like that thought process, because I think that if you are constantly promoting yourself as the cheapest or least expensive, you're still gonna get shopped all the time. And why not have the service there be the lead? And that's what I know you're talking about. Talk a little bit about your community involvement, because you sent me a couple of things that you did. And you just went to a gala this weekend. Yeah. So you're involved. You are involved as a human, Absolutely. As a business owner.
Absolutely. So as I was saying earlier, I was mentored by people that I think were pillars in Miami Beach and Miami that taught me at a very young age how to pay it forward, how to be involved with the community. And listen, a lot of people think that when you talk about giving back, or that it's about sponsoring or donating hefty amounts of money. And I'd like to, maybe give a plug to the Central Florida Hotel and Lodging Association here, because right now they're donating for school shoes for kids in public schools here. And it's something as simple as that, and when we come together as a community, when we come together as an organization or organizations, and you start giving back, it starts to multiply in ways which would completely blow your mind. And what I like to do, and what I've learned, is to align myself with certain organizations like the Osceola Chamber, fantastic chamber. As my wife was just part of a turkey drive that was just done, to help, families that just didn't have enough money for turkeys. And it's those simpler things where you'll actually see that gratitude back from the people that need it. And that's so rewarding. I mean, it's just, you'd be surprised how many people's lives would be changed just by a pair of shoes or a turkey. It's crazy, but that's important in our community.
It really is. I think a lot of times we talk about it on the show all the time. People think that if they're tight on money, that they can't do anything for their community. And my thing is always, well, you probably have time. So donate your time or introduce people, be a resource for people. If you have connections in the community, you don't always have to write a check to give back.
Absolutely.
And I think that's the biggest misnomer or misunderstood thing about when we talk about community service. It does not have to be a check. Don't get me wrong, they'd love some money, all of these amazing organizations, but it doesn't have to be that way. And especially this time of year, they're very short on volunteers. They're always looking for help. People seem to be more needy this time of year. There's a lot more going on. And so I love the give back that you did.
Absolutely. And Ted, it's like you said, it's the simple things. and we don't have to overthink it. There's a lot of organizations. Just find the one that you like. I told Robert LaGrusa from the Central Florida Hotel Association, no organization did more for my career and my business than the Greater Miami Beaches Hotel Association. So for me to be part of the Hotel Association here in Central Florida was pivotal. And then I've met great people like Robin at the Osceola Chamber of Commerce and what they do. And it's not just about meeting and networking. It's also about, hey, how can we help the community, and how can we do certain things? When I was in Miami, I was on the board of directors of Switchboard 911, and it's a suicide prevention hotline. When I walked into that facility and I saw the number of calls, I cried, Ted.
Yeah.
I cried. I couldn't believe it. And we used to run one of the largest golf tournaments in Miami, which I was very proud, to chair one of the golf tournaments down there and just get back to that organization. Because it was just so overwhelming,
Yes.
when you hear some of those calls and you hear the desperation of people. And again, it's just a simple thing. You pay $250, $300, $400 for a golf tournament. You're out there having fun with your buddies, your friends, and you probably save somebody's life.
That's correct.
I'll even go a step further. I like to donate blood, you sometimes something as simple as donating blood to One Blood, can save somebody's life. That's giving back to your community. So
Great.
yes, you're correct. You don't have to have, it's not always about a check. Yes, we need to support, we need to, fund these organizations, but something, if you're in that position in life where you can't right now, it's okay. Volunteer, help out, donate, or give them a call. Say, hey, can I help you with one of the events? Is there something I can do? And that right there is doing wonders.
I agree, 100%. All right, Carlos, what's the best way that all of the people I know who are interested in merchant services or want to learn more about your white glove service, what's the best way they can reach you?
I love to talk to people, Ted, and you know that.
I do.
So the best way to reach me is always calling me on my cell phone. Call me on my cell phone, 407-885-3900, or you can email or you can reach me through the website. But I'm sure you're going to give them my email. It's carlos@fortispaypro.com. Very simple. Just go ahead and reach me and just give me a call. Love to talk to you.
All right. Awesome, Carlos. Always a joy to spend time with you. Looking forward to doing a lot of good stuff with you in 2024. I'm wishing you and your family a wonderful, beautiful, Merry Christmas.
Same to you, Ted.
I can't believe it. So it's right around the corner, the corner, y'all. So we will, but if you are interested in merchant services, please give Carlos a shout. He's not high pressure. He's just as down to earth as he is on this call, as you'll talk to him when he's talking about the services that he offers. God bless you and your family, my friend.
God bless, my friend.
You all take care. We'll see you soon. Bye, everybody.
Thanks, Ted.